Hey everybody, it's good to see you back again. So you ever have one of those days where you just feel like shutting the old brain off and just occupying your time with some busy work? Well, that's pretty much what I've got going on today. So what are we doing today? Some dirty, rusty, heavy track work. I just felt like doing this today. And when you feel like doing track work, if at all possible, you should just do track work because it's going to make it a lot nicer. So yeah, there's a reason why we don't really do a lot of undercarriage work like we used to, because there's so much labor involved. It takes so much time. It's not a fun job. Nobody likes to do it. So for the old stuff here, we still do quite a bit, or at least I do, because, you know, when you're dealing with extinct components, you just have to build the best out of what you got. So we're getting into those 20-inch wide track pads and coils of chains that came off of that Vaughn Combine track kit. And we're starting with a pallet that looks like that, full coil of links and pads, breaking them down, getting the pads off, getting all the old bolts out, and coiling the links, stacking up the track pads. The chains here, you know, the links and pins and bushings are really pretty good for the way things go anymore. I have measured them with the undercarriage wear gauge. I estimate they're about 30% worn on rail height, which honestly at this point it'll live longer than me. And the internal pin and bushing wear, I just had this coil on the loader of the tractor, hung it up before I coiled it, got a good measurement. We are right at the 75% worn stage for pin and bushing, so it's prime territory for a pin and bushing turn, and that's going to be just fine because we're going to have to get into these links anyhow. Each one of these coils is 45 track links long, so we have 90 total between the two sets. And a standard equipped D2 like 5J1113 that has that smaller front idler only requires 30 track links and pads per side. So we have 1.5 complete sets for a standard D2 right here between these two sets of chains. Even with a larger front idler, you're looking at 31 links. So, you know, we've got plenty of stuff to work with. So we're going to have to shorten these up anyhow. And there are some links that aren't great. You can see the old master pin used to be in this one, and they have just beat it up bad. They had some loose bolts at one point, so they've been welding, trying to keep some of those things tight. That doesn't do you any favors. And, well, we look over at this one. Even though we had the master pin, where is it? Right here. That link was painted orange. They've been pounding the heck out of that. They just decided to go and cut one of the links anyhow. There's the other end of it right there to get these apart. So we're going to have a few track links in here that are bad. We're going to have to take out. And as long as we have the gauge here, I'll show you. Set that up there, and you can see the gap in there. There we go. That's a pretty good read. Is not a lot. So we're just, you know, estimating here visually. We're maybe 30% worn on those rails. They're actually pretty good yet. So we do have a few issues though with 20-inch wide pads. It is typical to see, you know, sometimes they will run loose because you're really asking a lot of those 4 7/16 diameter bolts. So this one's been loose. There's a few others. That one's been running loose. This one right here has been running loose, and then of course that one. That's not really good because when they run loose, well, like I'll show you over here, This one has been loose before, and we've got like a ridge there. From it rattling on the link, it starts just wearing a groove right here, so you don't have a perfectly flat surface to bolt up to anymore. Once that happens, it also walls the holes out too. Once that happens, good luck trying to keep them tight over the long term. I can show you too from one of the old bolts that I've torched. You can see how a track pad bolt is not threaded all the way. It's probably only threaded halfway to the head, so it's just a straight round shank from beneath the head out to about there. And what that is, it's about a 50-50 thickness split between the pass-through of the track pad and also into the link. So you can see the threads will just start down into that opening in the link, and that's about it. What that does, it keeps the bolt tighter in the link and in the track pad for longer because there's no gap in there. Basically, it's a pretty snug fit. So once these pads have run loose and worn those holes, they've also worn the holes in the link. You know, we're gonna have to weed a few of the bad ones out here. That's all right, we've got plenty of surplus. And now for the reason why we have 2 stacks of track pads here, we've separated them out. These are the pretty good ones that are only gonna take just a little bit of, you know, cleaning up that old weld. And because I've explained this in the comments section prior, but I don't know that I've ever said it on film, so we'll just cover it right here. We're kind of rabbit holing again, but you can see how there's some old weld right there, and we've nicked the edge of the grouser there, and you can see traces of old weld right there, and right there. They used to have C-channel welded to these things to get even more flotation. I don't know where they were trying to take this old John Deere combine, but they were trying to make these 20s even wider still. And when they cut those pieces of C-channel off, we hit some of the areas on the pads. Not a huge deal. Like, this is minimal right here. We can clean those old welds. I can shoot some more weld there and there, build them up, flush that back down with an angle grinder. 10-15 minutes, we've got a good track pad. So this is our good pile. Not going to take a lot of work to refurb. This is our, well, worst pile. We've got like this one that's been running loose, which it's B grade right now, but we have some of them that really had a lot of material cut out, and you can see it's about a 50-50 split, good to bad. This coil over here, this set, shows the same amount of wear, so we must have had at least 2 different torch operators that were cutting C-channel off, because this is like actually a really good job. I have no problems with this at all. They just barely nicked the track pad. They got most of the weld. There's just a little bit to flush out, clean up. That's good. But then we have like this, where we have like a great big old chunk got cut out and another chunk cut out. And the reason it's like a 50-50 split is it looks like we had 2 torch operators going here. One of them was doing a really good job. The other one, just pure hackery. And the good to bad track pads are spaced evenly side to side, where it's like we must have like started one guy on each side until we got everything we could reach, and then we moved the machine to run the new pads, or the pads that still had to be cut up, and then we swapped sides, because about half of each track is just hacked. Like, this is good, this is good, this is good. You get a real good stretch of good ones, but then you get in where it's like bad one, big hole, bad one, big hole, bad one, big hole, and it's just, it's like a half to half split. So we're gonna have to put some serious labor into fixing up some of these not so good ones, but we're gonna get everything torched apart here first, and we'll fix up all the real good ones to start with, and then we'll just draw from the bad pile to round out the set. So let's get to cutting those apart. Okay, quickly, I'll show you there's two ways you can do this. What I just did just now, and this is the way I prefer because it's a lot faster, I'll go down and torch the nut and the bolt off inside the track link. And what I'll do is I'll go all the way around, just doing these upper ones because I can get a nice straight down shot at them, and then I'll go and flip the whole thing over and stand it up on its other edge and bring the ones that are on the bottom up to the top, and then go all the way around and just get a nice square cut on each one. And for me, that's faster, even though it uses a little bit more oxygen, because you can be a little bit more careless. You've got that lock washer there as a barrier between where you're cutting and the track links, so that keeps you stopping well short from nicking the track links with the torch. The other way you could do it, and I did the first 4 like this just to show you, if you're good with heat control, you can just burn the heads of the bolts off without getting down and biting the track pad. That takes a little bit more time because you're managing your heat. You're trying not to get those areas too hot, and then you do have to go along behind and knock the old bolts out of the links. Well, it's 6 one, half dozen another, because after I hammer these track pads off, we're gonna have to knock the bolts out of the pads. So either way, you're gonna be doing some hammering work, but that's just how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna keep going all the way around, and we're gonna flip it. I'll go all the way around again, and then we'll hammer all these off. Last track pad. I'm not sure how they did that back in the day. Do you say I slipped? I don't know. So we're gonna put in the stack. So what I did, and yeah, those coils of tracks are a lot more compact after they've been broken down than they are when they're all assembled. So I redid the piles here. This stack is all of the really rough condition pads. Those stacks over there are, I would say, salvageable with minimal effort. So we've got about 45 track pads stacked up over there. That's going to put us well on our way to a set of 60. So we're going to have to pull a few out of the junk pile, but it's not too bad. So, and we collected as many of the old bolts as we can. We accumulated a few more pounds of scrap. So that was today's work right there. It doesn't look like a lot, but it's a first step anyhow. So yeah, like I said, undercarriage work is heavy, it's dirty, it's rusty, it's not a lot of fun. This is probably literally 2,000 pounds, like literally a ton of not fun right behind me. So, but when you feel like doing it, you might as well do it. So that was just our first step. That's a rather easy part right there. And I've still got 2 other coils of D2 tracks I need to tear down, because I need to try and take the good pins and bushings out of one set and the good links out of another set and combine them to make one decent set, and then we'll salvage the best of the track pads from there. So we've got a lot of hours of undercarriage rehab ahead of us. That's what you have to do anymore just to reclaim these components. So Lots of good prospects, though. Lots of good parts if we want to put in the work. So that was today. I might do undercarriage again tomorrow, or track work again tomorrow if I feel like it. Might as well just keep knocking it out of the way. It's all got to get done. So, and it's been plenty cold still. It wasn't bad playing with fire today anyhow. So good time to do it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in again.